You didn't lose them. They were never meant to follow where you're headed. Some people aren't gone because they abandoned you. They're gone because your energy no longer recognized them. I reclaim my time and energy and space. Welcome. Today we're going to reveal the real reason certain people start falling away when you start rising, and why this is a spiritual promotion, not a punishment. Nobody tells you this, but outgrowing relationships is one of the first signs of alignment. When your vibration shifts, your surroundings begin to echo that. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to block them, confront them, or explain a thing. The separation is energetic. It happens quietly, and most times you won't even notice it's happened until your timeline has already moved on. Now listen closely. This is not about ego. This is about frequency. When your soul finally says enough, the universe listens. And when you begin operating from truth, your old attachments begin to dissolve, not out of cruelty, but clarity. Here's the thing no one wants to admit. You can't bring everybody with you, and you're not supposed to. How long have you kept yourself small to stay digestible to people who were never meant to understand you? You were never crazy. You were just early. And this version of you, the healed one, the aligned one, doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Let's go deeper. When you start healing, your energetic field starts vibrating at a new rhythm. You're not looking for chaos anymore. You're not feeding on trauma-bonded conversations. You're not faking laughs just to keep the peace. And you're not chasing validation like scraps of love anymore. Your silence becomes louder than your words. Your absence becomes more impactful than your presence once was. Because now, you're choosing you. And here's what happens next. People who once felt magnetic to you begin to fade into the background. And it hurts, doesn't it? You're still human. You still grieve. But the chosen ones are called to walk roads others won't understand until much later. Have you ever looked around and wondered, why do I feel so alone now that I'm doing better? That loneliness isn't emptiness. It's sacred space being cleared for what's truly aligned. Now listen closely. You didn't fail at keeping those connections. They expired because your growth demanded it. They were never going where you're headed. Your soul knew that. Now your mind is catching up. This world needed you to forget. Until now. Because as you reclaim your path, your power, and your peace, everything that was fake starts to fall. And it's not personal, it's vibrational. The version of you who tolerated disrespect just to avoid conflict, gone. The version of you who poured into others hoping they'd choose you back, gone. The version of you who betrayed your own intuition to feel loved, that version died when your light turned back on. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt that eerie silence when someone leaves your life and somehow it brings more peace than pain? That's not abandonment, that's confirmation. They tried to silence you, didn't they? Told you that you changed. But chosen one, you didn't change. You evolved. And evolution always offends those who refuse to grow. You didn't just walk away. You walked upward. And as your frequency shifted, you stopped resonating with the noise. Now listen closely. Your peace started making people uncomfortable. Your silence forced others to face the chaos in their own minds, and your refusal to shrink made you too much for those who were only comfortable with the old, diluted version of you. But that discomfort isn't your burden. It's their awakening, whether they answer it or not. Have you noticed this? The moment you start prioritizing your well-being, your rest, your vision, the projections begin. They say you've changed. They say you've lost yourself. But nobody says you've healed. Nobody says, I'm proud of your growth. Why? Because you no longer serve their dysfunction, and that, chosen one, is exactly what they can't handle. It was never your fault. You were just mirroring back the parts of them they were not yet ready to meet. So what do? They blame you, distance themselves, or try to provoke the old you back into existence, the version who people-pleased, self-abandoned, and stayed small to keep the peace. But that version of you doesn't live here anymore. So I need you to ask yourself something powerful right now. What are you still holding on to out of guilt that your soul has already released in freedom? Let that question echo, because some of you are still carrying ghosts. Old friendships, relationships, family dynamics, community bonds, that no longer align with the person you've become. You're still trying to fix what was never yours to heal. Now listen, you can love someone and still outgrow the connection. You can forgive them and still not let them back in. You can honor the role they played without shrinking your light to play yours. Chosen one, listen carefully. Your job was to awaken, not to convince. And as you awaken, you begin to realize, not everyone was supposed to stay. Some people were assignments, temporary messengers that helped you evolve. But not all messengers are meant to walk the whole path with you. You didn't lose them. They simply couldn't breathe in the atmosphere your soul is now thriving in. You didn't leave them behind. You stopped waiting for them to catch up. And that is what liberation tastes like. Nobody tells you this, but sometimes grief is the sign that you've finally let go of what was never really loving you, only using you. And that's where you reclaim your power. In the stillness, in the silence, in the knowing that what left your life wasn't a punishment. It was protection. They couldn't join you in the new frequency because they were never meant to. And maybe, just maybe, some of them weren't even real. They were projections, reflections of an identity you've now shed. So why keep grieving what only existed in the version of you that no longer exists? You've outgrown the costume. Now it's time to embrace the truth. You were never meant to be background noise in someone else's story. You were always the main character in your own, but you had to forget that to remember it. You had to walk through the silence to reclaim your sound. And now that you've remembered, there's no going back. You see, chosen one, the version of you that tolerated crumbs, was never your final form. You were conditioned to stay small, to dim your radiance, to second-guess your inner knowing. But that was never who you truly were. You were just surviving, and when you started healing, you stopped tolerating the things that broke you. That shift in vibration didn't just elevate your reality. It exposed theirs. It revealed how many of the people around you were never clapping for you, only clinging to your brokenness because it made them feel bigger. But you're not available for that anymore. Now listen closely. You were never crazy. You were just early. You saw the game. You felt the energetic dissonance. You knew something was off even when everyone else told you to just go with it. But you couldn't, because truth doesn't sit quietly in a chosen soul. You were born to crack systems, to walk out of cages, not decorate them. And that's exactly what you did. You stopped calling chaos normal. You stopped identifying with suffering. You stopped chasing love that made you question your worth. That decision made you dangerous to those still invested in the illusion. So they fell away. Some ghosted you, some betrayed you. Others started to speak about you like they never truly knew you. And maybe that hurt. Maybe it still does. But now hear this. The pain of shedding illusions is the price of alignment. It's the grief that births your power. Nobody tells you this, but grief and gratitude can exist in the same breath. You can miss them and still know you're better without them. You can reflect fondly and still choose forward motion, because staying would have cost you your soul. So what really changed? You stopped asking for permission. You started trusting that intuitive whisper that said, this isn't where you're meant to stay. This isn't the love your heart came here to receive. This isn't the tribe that's aligned with your calling. And when you listened, really listened, you found something deeper. You are the love. You are the tribe. You are the answer. And everything else flows from that remembrance. So let me ask you this, chosen one. Why would you keep betraying your own evolution just to make someone else comfortable in their stagnation? Sit with that, because your destiny isn't up for debate. Your frequency isn't up for negotiation. And your calling, it's far too sacred to be delayed by people who never even saw you fully. You were never meant to fit into a frequency you came to transform. They tried to silence you, didn't they? Tried to box you in, explain you away, water you down. But the truth is, you were the permission they were waiting for. You were the mirror they were avoiding. You were the lesson they didn't want to learn. And now that you've risen, they can't unsee the truth you carried in your presence all along. Chosen one, it's not your job to make people understand the journey they never took. It's your job to keep walking, eyes open, heart steady, soul on fire. So what now, chosen one? Now you take your power back completely, because that loss you keep replaying in your mind was never really a loss. It was a realignment. It was your soul recalibrating the space around you. Because what you're becoming cannot grow in a garden of shadows. Nobody tells you this, but when you truly rise, you don't just lose people, you lose versions of yourself. Versions that were addicted to fixing, chasing, proving. Versions that thought love had to hurt first. Versions that only felt safe in chaos. And when those versions dissolve, you feel a strange silence, an unfamiliar emptiness. But don't mistake that silence for loneliness. That's peace, that's alignment, that's the stillness that comes before the quantum leap. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, because for so long your nervous system thought the pain was home. But now you're building a new frequency, one that doesn't tolerate disrespect masked as love, one that doesn't downplay truth for acceptance, one that doesn't apologize for taking up space. Now listen closely. You didn't outgrow them because you're better. You outgrew them because you stopped settling. You started walking in truth. You started demanding integrity. You started holding a vibration that forced masks to fall, and the moment you did that, your world began shifting. The invitations stopped, the text slowed down, the circles got smaller, and yet, your spirit started to breathe. Because you weren't built for comfort zones, you were built to evolve, to create, to awaken. This world needed you to forget for a while, until now. So if you're still grieving, let yourself feel it. Grieve the comfort, grieve the memories, grieve the version of you that accepted less. But don't go back. You didn't come this far to rebuild a cage just because it's familiar. You came to break the pattern, for you and for every soul that comes after you. You are not too much. You are not too intense. You are not broken. You are called. And if this message found you now, it's because your higher self already decided it's time. Time to trust your alignment over your attachments. Time to honor what your intuition already knows. Time to rise without apologizing for the heights you were built to reach. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to stop mourning expired frequencies and finally claim the future waiting on the other side of your obedience? Because when you do, that's when the real tribe shows up. The soul contracts, the new timeline, and it all starts with the truth you've always known. You were never abandoned. You were being positioned. So don't dim. Don't shrink. Don't go back to sleep. Walk forward like the one you are. They may not understand it. They may not support it. But they were never meant to come with you because you, chosen one, you didn't lose them. You outgrew their frequency. And now, you finally remember who you are. If this woke something up in you, don't just scroll away. This was meant for you. Subscribe if you want more messages like this, straight from source. Let the rest of your life begin. Right now.